12 weddings in 1 year, and her best friend said yes to all of them. Lila hadn't expected the first slow dance to feel like this. His hands settled on her waist, too careful, like he was holding something fragile. The song was about second chances. She'd asked Owen to be her +1 as armor, someone safe to deflect the endless, "Are you seeing anyone?" questions. Now his proximity raised questions she didn't have answers for. The way he looked at her during the toast, the warmth of his palm through the silk of her dress. 4 minutes of a slow song shouldn't rewrite 5 years of friendship. Wedding 2 was in 2 weeks, 11 more after that. She could survive this season. She had to. Unless he kept looking at her like that, like he was memorizing something he thought he'd lose. She felt his hand before she heard the music start. "May I?" Owen's voice was low, closer than she expected. Lila turned. He stood in his navy suit, one hand extended. The reception hall glowed amber from string lights overhead. Behind him, couples were already moving toward the dance floor. "You don't have to," she said. "I know." The band started something slow. She recognized the opening chords, an old song about waiting, about chances you didn't take. Owen's hand stayed in the air between them. She took it. His palm was warm. He led her to the edge of the floor, where the light was softer. One hand found her waist. The other held hers carefully, like he was aware of every point of contact. "You okay?" he asked. "Why wouldn't I be? You've been photographing from the balcony all night." She had, safer up there with her camera, capturing other people's love stories instead of standing in the middle of one. "I'm working. You're off duty now." They moved slowly. His thumb rested against her spine. She could feel the warmth of it through silk. The song swelled. Around them, other couples swayed, lost in their own worlds. "Thank you," she said, "for doing this." "All 12? You didn't have to say yes to all of them." Owen's hand tightened slightly at her waist. "Maybe I wanted to." She looked up. He was already looking at her, not at the room, not at the band, at her. Something in his expression made her chest feel too small. "Owen, it's just a dance, Lila." But it wasn't. The way he held her, the careful distance he maintained, the fact that he'd volunteered for an entire wedding season without hesitation, none of it felt casual. The song ended. Applause rippled through the room. Owen's hands dropped. "I'll get us drinks," he said, and disappeared into the crowd before she could respond. Lila stood alone on the dance floor as the next song started. Her waist still felt warm where his hand had been. Owen drove in silence. Lila watched the highway lights streak past. Each one flared amber, then faded. The car smelled like his cologne and the lavender from the wedding centerpieces she'd accidentally knocked over while packing her camera. "You're quiet," he said. "Tired. You were laughing with the bride's sister an hour ago." She had been. Before the slow dance. Before Owen had looked at her like that. Now her body felt restless, like she'd drunk too much coffee. She pressed her temple against the cool window glass. "What did you think," Owen asked, "of the wedding?" "Beautiful venue. Good light. The toasts ran long." "That's your photographer answer." "What other answer is there?" He glanced at her, then back at the road. "The one where you tell me if you had a good time." Lila pulled out her phone, scrolled through the photos she'd taken. The ceremony arch wrapped in white roses, the first kiss, the cake cutting. She stopped on a photo she didn't remember taking. Owen laughing with the groom's brother, his jacket off, sleeves rolled up. She'd captured him mid-smile, unguarded. She deleted it. "I had a fine time," she said. "Fine." "Yes, fine." Owen's jaw tightened. He turned up the music slightly, some indie song about longing, about almost. Of course. Lila closed her eyes. The car was too warm. Or she was. She couldn't tell anymore. They pulled into her apartment complex 20 minutes later. Owen parked but didn't turn off the engine. Wedding 2 is June 14th, he said. Barn venue upstate. I'll pick you up at noon. You don't have to. I know. She reached for the door handle, stopped. Why did you volunteer for all 12, really? Owen looked straight ahead through the windshield. The street light overhead cast half his face in shadow. Because you needed someone, and I'm your friend. Right, friend. Yeah. She wanted to ask more, what the dance had meant, why his hand had lingered. But her throat felt tight, and the question wouldn't form. Good night, Owen. Night, Lila. She got out. The cool night air hit her, sharp after the warmth of the car. She didn't look back as she walked to her building, but she heard him wait until she was inside before he drove away. In her apartment, she downloaded the wedding photos to her laptop. 214 images. She scrolled through them slowly, deleting the blurry ones, flagging the good ones. She stopped on the photo of Owen again. She thought she deleted it from her phone, but here it was on her camera's memory card. His smile, the way the light caught his eyes. She should delete it. She didn't. The barn was decorated in fairy lights and wildflowers. Lila stood at the edge of the crowd of single women, camera in hand. She wasn't participating, she was documenting. There was a difference. All the single ladies, the DJ called. The bride turned her back to them, bouquet raised. Lila lifted her camera, ready to capture someone else's hopeful face. The bouquet arced through the air. It tumbled end over end, white roses and baby's breath spinning. Lila tracked it through her viewfinder. The trajectory was wrong. It was coming toward her section. She lowered the camera. The bouquet hit her in the chest. Her hands came up on instinct. She caught it. The crowd erupted in cheers. We have a winner, the DJ shouted. Lila stared at the flowers in her hands. They smelled like summer and promises she wasn't ready to make. Around her, women clapped and laughed. Someone's aunt yelled, "You're next, honey." She looked up. Across the room, Owen stood near the bar. He was watching her, a smile pulling at his mouth. Not his polite smile, the real one, the one that made his eyes crinkle. She should smile back, wave it off, make a joke. She froze. Owen's smile faded. He set down his drink and started toward her. Lila? She shoved the bouquet at the woman next to her. Here, you take it. But you caught it. Please. The woman took the flowers, confused. Lila grabbed her camera bag and headed for the exit. She needed air, space, something. Outside, the parking lot was empty. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and purple. She leaned against Owen's car, hands shaking slightly as she checked her camera settings. An old habit. When her feelings got too big, she made herself small behind the lens. The barn door opened. Owen. Hey. He walked over slowly, hands in his pockets. You okay? Fine. You ran out. I didn't run. I walked purposefully. Lila. She kept her eyes on her camera screen. I don't like being the center of attention. You know that. It was just a bouquet toss. I know. So why? Because everyone was looking at me. Her voice came out sharper than she intended. And then I looked at you, and you were smiling like... She stopped. Like what? Like it meant something. Like he was imagining a future where she actually caught bouquets and meant it. Where they weren't just friends playing pretend for a wedding season. Nothing, she said. Forget it. Owen moved closer. He leaned against the car next to her. Their shoulders almost touched. The evening air smelled like cut grass and distant rain. 2 down, he said quietly. 10 to go. You can still back out. Do you want me to? Yes. No, she didn't know anymore. I don't want you to feel obligated. I don't. Then why are you here, Owen? He turned to look at her. The sunset caught in his eyes, turning them almost gold. Because you asked me, and I couldn't say no to you. Something in his tone made her breath catch. She met his gaze. For a moment, neither of them moved. The space between them felt electric, charged with all the things they weren't saying. Then voices carried from the barn. Laughter, music starting up again. Owen pushed off the car. We should go back in. They're cutting the cake soon. Right. Yeah. They walked back together, careful not to let their hands brush. But Lila could still feel the weight of the bouquet against her chest. The way it had felt, for just a second, like a promise she wasn't ready to keep. Her phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. Lila was in bed, editing photos on her laptop. She glanced at the screen. Owen. She let it ring twice before answering. Hey, did I wake you? His voice sounded rough, tired. No, still working. You okay? Yeah, can't sleep. She heard rustling. He was moving around, probably pacing his apartment like he did when his mind wouldn't shut off. She knew his patterns. 5 years of friendship meant knowing when he was restless. What's wrong? She asked. Silence. Then, today, the bouquet thing. I'm sorry if I made it weird. You didn't. You ran out. I told you I don't like attention. Lila. He said her name like he was testing the weight of it. Can I ask you something? Her fingers stopped moving on the keyboard. Okay. When you caught it and looked at me, what were you thinking? She closed her laptop. The room went dark except for the glow of her phone. I wasn't thinking anything. You froze. So you never freeze. You're always moving, always behind the camera. But you stopped, and you looked at me like... He exhaled. Never mind. Like what, Owen? More silence. She could hear his breathing, could picture him in his apartment, standing by his drafting table where he sketched building designs that would never get built. Like you were scared, he said finally. Her chest tightened. Of what? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. She should deflect, change the subject, make a joke. But it was late and dark, and his voice was doing something to her defenses. I almost kissed you, Owen said. The words hung in the air. Lila sat up in bed. What? Today, in the parking lot, when you were standing there looking at me with the sunset behind you. I almost kissed you. Her heart was doing something complicated. But you didn't. No. Why not? Because we're friends. Because I didn't want to ruin this. Because... He stopped. Because I don't know if you'd want me to. She couldn't breathe. 5 years of friendship, and he'd never said anything like this. Never crossed this line. Owen, I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I needed you to know that it wasn't just a smile, that when you caught that bouquet, I wasn't imagining you marrying some random guy. I was... Another pause. I should let you sleep. Wait. Yeah? What could she say? That she'd felt it too? That the slow dance at wedding 1 had kept her up for 3 nights? That she deleted and undeleted photos of him because she didn't know what it meant that she kept taking them? How long? She asked. What? How long have you felt like this? The silence stretched so long she thought the call had dropped. A while, he said finally. Long enough that I should probably stop doing this to myself. Doing what? Pretending 12 weddings won't kill me. Her throat felt tight. You can back out. I'll understand. No, you won't. You'll think I abandon you. I won't. Lila, I can't back out, even if it kills me. Because the only thing worse than watching you catch bouquets all season is not being there at all. She didn't know what to say. The phone felt hot against her ear. I'll see you at wedding 3, Owen said. Good night. The call ended. Lila sat in the dark, staring at nothing. Her laptop was still closed, the photos still unedited. How long is a while? She didn't sleep that night. We need a volunteer couple. Lila tried to sink into her chair. They were at wedding 3, a rustic barn venue with hay bales and mason jar centerpieces. The reception was in full swing. She should be working, capturing candid moments. Instead, she was trapped at a table while the DJ ran games. You two, the DJ pointed directly at them. In the back, come on up. Owen raised an eyebrow. I think he means us. We're not a couple. He doesn't know that. The tables around them started clapping, urging them forward. The bride, Owen's cousin's friend, which is how they'd ended up here, was grinning and waving them up. Lila, Owen said quietly, it's just a game. She stood. Owen followed. They walked to the front where two chairs sat back to back. The DJ handed them each a shoe, one of Lila's heels, one of Owen's dress shoes. Here's how it works, the DJ explained. I'll ask questions about your relationship. Hold up your shoe if the answer is you. Hold up their shoe if it's them. Let's see how well you know each other. They sat. Lila's back pressed against Owen's. She could feel the warmth of him through her dress, solid and steady. Her heart was doing that complicated thing again. First question, the DJ called. Who said I love you first? Lila hesitated. They'd never said it. Not like that. But the crowd was watching. She held up Owen's shoe. Behind her, she felt Owen move. When the DJ said, turn around and show us, she saw he'd held up his own shoe too. The crowd cheered. In sync. Who's the better cook? Lila held up Owen's shoe. He was holding up his own again. More cheers. Who's more romantic? This time Lila held up her own shoe as a joke. Owen held up hers. They turned. He was smiling, that soft smile that made her chest hurt. Who takes longer to get ready? Both held up Lila's. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Who fell in love first? The question hit like cold water. Lila froze. The shoe felt heavy in her hand. She didn't know how to answer this. They weren't in love. This was pretend. But Owen's words from the late-night call echoed in her head. A while. Long enough. She held up Owen's shoe. Slowly. Behind her, she felt Owen go still. Then he held up a shoe. When they turned, her breath caught. He was holding up his own shoe, saying he fell first. The crowd erupted in applause and awes. Someone yelled, kiss, kiss. The DJ laughed and waved them off. All right, back to your seats, lovebirds. Lila stood on shaking legs. Owen's hand found the small of her back as they walked back to their table. A gesture so natural she barely registered it until they sat down and his hand fell away. Owen, it's fine, he said quietly. They don't know. But you, I was playing along. Were you? He looked at her then, really looked at her. The music was loud, people were dancing, but everything narrowed to just his eyes on hers. Does it matter? He asked. Yes. Why? Because her heart was pounding. Because she couldn't stop thinking about that phone call. Because 12 weddings suddenly felt like 12 chances to figure out what they were doing to each other. Because I need to know if you meant it. Owen leaned closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, see the flecks of gold in his eyes. Every answer I gave up there was true, every single one. Someone bumped their table, jostling them apart. A waiter came by with champagne. The moment fractured. Owen took a glass, drank half of it in one go. I need some air, he said, and left the table. Lila watched him disappear into the crowd. Her heel was still on the floor next to her chair where the DJ had left it. She picked it up, turned it over in her hands. Who fell in love first? She'd held up his shoe. Safe answer. Deflection. But what if she'd been wrong? What if it was her? The thought settled into her chest, heavy and terrifying. She set down the shoe and grabbed her camera. Old habit. When things got complicated, she hid behind the lens. But when she lifted it and scanned the room, she found Owen outside on the deck, leaning against the railing. The light from inside caught his profile. He looked tired, sad. She took the photo. Then she lowered the camera. 5 weddings left, 10 to go. And she was lying to herself if she thought they were going to survive this season without something breaking. Lila unlocked her apartment door at midnight. Owen had driven her home in silence. Again. They'd said goodnight in the parking lot with careful distance between them. No lingering, no eye contact, just "see you next week," and the sound of his car pulling away. She dropped her keys on the counter, kicked off her heels. The apartment was too quiet. She poured herself water she didn't want and stood by the window. The city glowed below, all those lives happening in lit windows. People who probably had their shit figured out. People who didn't spend wedding receptions pretending they weren't falling apart. Her phone buzzed. Text from Owen. "Get home okay?" "Yeah, you?" "Yeah." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "About the game." She waited. The dots vanished. No follow-up message came. Lila set down the phone. Her hands were shaking slightly. She pressed them flat against the cool counter until they steadied. Why had he volunteered for all 12 weddings? The question had been circling her mind for 3 weeks now. His answer, "Because you needed someone. And I'm your friend," didn't match the way he'd held her during that first slow dance. Didn't match the late-night phone call. Didn't match him holding up his own shoe when the DJ asked who fell in love first. She walked to her bedroom, changed into sleep clothes. Her dress hung on the back of the door, still smelling like barnwood and champagne. She should put it away. She left it there. In bed, she opened her laptop. The photos from tonight were already uploaded. She scrolled through them mechanically. The ceremony, the first dance, the cake cutting, the couple's game. She stopped on a photo someone else must have taken, probably the bride's sister. It showed Lila and Owen sitting back to back in those chairs, both holding up shoes. Owen's profile was visible. He was smiling, but something in his expression looked painful, like he was playing a role that cost him something. She zoomed in. His hand was gripping the chair leg, knuckles white. Her chest felt too tight. She closed the laptop. Her phone buzzed again. This time Owen had actually sent the message. "I'm sorry if I made things weird. We can talk about it if you want, or not, whatever you need." She typed and deleted 4 different responses, finally settled on, "It's late. Let's just get through the season." "Okay. Owen?" "Yeah?" She typed. "Why did you really volunteer for all 12? The dots appeared immediately this time, then stopped. Started, stopped. Finally, "I already told you. You gave me the friend answer. That's the only answer I've got." Liar. But she didn't type that. Instead, "Okay, good night." "Night, Lila." She set the phone face down on her nightstand, stared at the ceiling. Outside, a siren wailed past. Someone's dog barked. The building settled with small creaks and sighs. 5 years of friendship. 5 years of coffee shop meetings and late-night calls, and him showing up when she needed someone. 5 years of knowing exactly how he took his coffee and what he looked like when he was thinking too hard about a building design. And now, 3 weddings in, she couldn't remember how to be normal around him. The worst part? She didn't know when it had shifted. Maybe it hadn't. Maybe it had always been this way, and she'd just been too careful to notice. Too scared to look directly at what they were to each other. Her phone buzzed one more time. Not Owen, her sister. "Saw the couple's game video. You two are either excellent actors or complete idiots. Maybe both." Lila didn't respond. She turned off the light and tried to sleep, but all she could see was Owen's face when he'd held up that shoe. The way he'd looked at her like the answer mattered. Like she mattered. How long is a while? She still didn't know, but 9 weddings stretched ahead of them, and she was running out of ways to not ask. The light was wrong. Lila stood on the hotel balcony overlooking the beach ceremony, camera raised. Wedding 4. Beachside venue. White chairs in the sand, arch wrapped in pale blue hydrangeas. The bride was walking down the aisle. Lila should be capturing this. Instead, she was up here, 2 floors away, shooting from distance. Through her telephoto lens, she found Owen. He sat in the 3rd row, looking straight ahead, navy suit again. He'd worn it to every wedding so far. She knew the way it fit his shoulders now, could probably sketch it from memory. She zoomed in. His jaw was tight. He wasn't watching the ceremony. He was staring at something in his hands. His phone. Her own phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. The bride reached the altar. The officiant began speaking. Words about love and commitment and choosing someone every day. Lila lowered her camera. The ocean stretched out behind the ceremony, gray-green under overcast sky. Wind pulled at the fabric draping the arch. A storm was coming. You could smell it in the air. Salt and electricity and rain still hours away. She raised the camera again, found Owen through the lens. This time he was looking up, scanning the crowd, looking for her. She stepped back from the balcony railing. Her phone buzzed again. This time she checked it. Owen, where are you? Owen, Lila? Owen, are you okay? She typed, working, getting overhead shots. 3 dots appeared immediately. Owen, from the hotel? Lila, better angle. The dots disappeared, reappeared. Owen, we need to talk. Lila, after the reception. Owen, no, now. She looked down at the ceremony. Owen's seat was empty. She scanned the crowd. He was walking away from the chairs, phone to his ear, heading toward the hotel. Her phone rang. She didn't answer. 2 minutes later, there was a knock on her room door. Lila, I know you're in there. She opened the door. Owen stood in the hallway, still in his suit, slightly breathless like he'd taken the stairs instead of the elevator. You're missing the ceremony, she said. So are you. I'm working. From your hotel room. He looked past her at the balcony, 2 floors up, with a telephoto lens. It's a valid angle. It's hiding. The word hung between them. Lila felt something defensive rise in her chest. I'm not hiding. Then what are you doing? My job. Lila. What do you want, Owen? He stepped into the room. She let him. He closed the door behind him and leaned against it, hands in his pockets. The air conditioning hummed. Outside, someone's kids shrieked in the pool. I want to know why you're avoiding me, he said quietly. I'm not. You sat 3 tables away at dinner last night. You haven't answered my texts since Tuesday, and now you're hiding in your room instead of being at the ceremony. I told you, I'm working. Bullshit. The word came out harder than she'd ever heard him speak. Lila flinched. Owen ran a hand through his hair. Sorry, I can't do this. Do what? Pretend this isn't happening. Pretend we're fine. We are fine. We're not since wedding 3, not since that game. He pushed off the door, walked to the window, stood with his back to her. You've been pulling away ever since I held up that shoe. Her throat felt tight. Maybe that's because you made it weird. I made it weird? He turned. Lila, I've been trying to keep this normal. I've been trying to be your friend and not push and just survive this season. But you're making it impossible. How? By looking at me the way you do. By freezing when you caught that bouquet. By asking me how long. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. You don't get to ask me that and then disappear. Outside, applause erupted. The ceremony was ending. People would be moving to the reception soon. They had maybe 20 minutes before the beach photos started, and she'd need to be down there. I didn't know what to do with that information, she said finally. What information? That you've felt this way for a while. That you almost kissed me. That you... She stopped. That I what? That you fell first. Owen went very still. Is that what you think? That I fell and you didn't? I don't know what I think. Then figure it out. His voice was rough. Because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep showing up to weddings and slow dancing with you and watching you catch bouquets and pretending it doesn't kill me. I can't keep being your +1 when all I want... He stopped, exhaled. I should go. Owen, we have 8 weddings left. I'll be at all of them. I promised you that. But I need you to decide what we're doing here. Because this, he gestured between them, this isn't friendship anymore. And I don't think it has been for a while. He left. The door clicked shut behind him. Lila stood alone in her hotel room. Through the balcony, she could see the wedding party taking photos on the beach. Owen was down there now, hands in his pockets, standing apart from the group. Her camera sat on the bed. She picked it up, zoomed in on him through the telephoto lens. He looked up, directly at her window. Even from 2 floors away, she could see his expression. Tired, sad, done waiting. She lowered the camera. 8 weddings left, and she was out of ways to avoid the truth. The reception ended at 11. Lila packed her camera gear in the parking lot while guests trickled out, laughing and drunk and happy. She'd photographed the first dance, the toasts, the cake cutting, all from a safe distance. Owen had danced with the bride's sister. She'd watched through her viewfinder. Need help? She didn't turn around. I'm fine. Owen appeared beside her anyway. He picked up her tripod without asking, folded it properly, the way she'd shown him years ago, and slid it into her bag. Thanks, she said. Are we okay? You asked me that earlier. You didn't answer. She zipped the camera bag closed. The parking lot was mostly empty now. Overhead lights buzzed. Somewhere in the distance, waves crashed against the shore. I don't know how to answer that, she said finally. Try. She turned to face him. He looked tired. They both did. 4 weddings in 6 weeks. 8 more stretching ahead. An entire season of this slow unraveling. I'm scared, she said. Of what? Of this. Of us. Of... She gestured helplessly. I don't know how to do this, Owen. We've been friends for 5 years. I don't know how to be anything else. You think I do? You seem pretty sure about what you want. I am sure. He stepped closer. I've been sure for a long time. That's the problem. How long? He laughed, but it sounded bitter. You keep asking me that. Because you won't tell me. Would it change anything if I did? Yes, maybe. She didn't know. Her chest felt too tight. I just need to understand. Understand what? That I fell in love with my best friend? That I've been in love with you long enough that I can't remember what it felt like before? That every wedding we go to is torture because I keep imagining... He stopped, shook his head. Never mind. Imagining what? It doesn't matter. Owen. Lila, I can't keep having this conversation. Not in parking lots. Not at weddings. Not... His voice broke. I need you to figure out what you want, because I can't be the only one drowning here. She wanted to reach for him, wanted to close the space between them and just... What? Kiss him? Tell him she was drowning too? She didn't know. That was the problem. She didn't know anything anymore except that the ground under their friendship had shifted, and she didn't know how to stand on it. Are we okay? She asked quietly. Owen looked at her for a long moment. Then he pulled his keys from his pocket. I don't know. Are we? He walked to his car, got in, drove away. Lila stood alone in the parking lot with her camera bag and the sound of the ocean and the feeling that she'd just lost something she couldn't name. Her phone buzzed. Owen. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pushed. Owen. I'll see you at wedding 5. We'll figure it out. Owen. Or we won't. Either way, I'm not leaving. She typed and deleted 5 different responses, finally settled on, I'm sorry too. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response came. She loaded her car and drove back to the city alone. The highway was empty at midnight, just her and the road and the headlights cutting through dark. She thought about Owen's question. Are we okay? The answer was no. They weren't. They hadn't been since wedding 1, maybe even before that, and 8 weddings stretched ahead of them like a countdown to something inevitable. She just didn't know if that something was them finally figuring it out or destroying what they had completely. The hotel had made a mistake. Lila stood in the doorway of room 412, staring at the single king bed. Not two queens, one bed. "There has to be another room," she said into her phone. "I'm so sorry, ma'am." The front desk clerk sounded genuinely apologetic. "We're completely booked. It's wedding season. Every hotel in town is full." "What about a cot?" "We're out of those too. I can offer a refund." "No, it's fine, thank you." She hung up. Owen appeared in the doorway behind her, carrying both their bags. He stopped when he saw the bed. "Ah, they made a mistake," Lila said quickly. "Okay, I'll take the couch." "Lila, it's fine. I'm smaller. It makes sense." He set down the bags, looked at the couch, a small love seat barely big enough for one person, let alone someone trying to sleep. "You're not sleeping on that. Then you take it." "Neither of us is taking it." He walked to the closet, pulled out extra blankets and a pillow. "I'll sleep on the floor." "Owen, that's ridiculous." "It's not up for debate." His tone was firm, final. He started making a sleeping area on the floor by the window. Lila watched him, something tight forming in her chest. "This is because of the parking lot, isn't it? Because I didn't answer you." He didn't look up. "It's because you need space. I'm giving you space." "I don't need—" "Lila," he straightened, met her eyes. "Please, just let me do this." The vulnerability in his voice stopped her argument. She nodded. They got ready for bed in awkward silence. She changed in the bathroom, brushed her teeth, washed her face. Tried not to think about the fact that Owen was 15 feet away, that she could hear him moving around, the rustle of fabric as he changed. When she came out, he was already on the floor, covers pulled up, phone in hand. He'd left the lamp on her nightstand lit. "Bathroom's yours," she said. "Thanks." He disappeared. She climbed into the bed, massive and cold and too empty. The sheets smelled like hotel detergent. Generic. Safe. Owen came back. He turned off the main light, leaving just her bedside lamp. The room fell into soft shadow. "Night," he said quietly. "Night." She turned off the lamp. Darkness settled. Lila lay very still, listening. She could hear Owen breathing. The floor couldn't be comfortable. He was 6'2". There was no way he fit properly. "Owen?" "Yeah? Are you okay down there?" "I'm fine." He wasn't. She could hear it in his voice. "You can take the bed. I'll take the floor." "Not happening." "Owen." "Lila, just let me do this, please." She fell quiet. Outside, wind rattled the window. The hotel AC hummed. Someone in the next room was watching TV, volume low. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt the wrongness of him on the floor, of the space between them, of all the things they weren't saying. An hour passed, then two. "Are you awake?" she whispered. "Yeah, the floor is terrible, isn't it?" A pause. "It's not great. Just get in the bed." Silence. Then, "What?" "The bed is huge. We can put pillows between us. I can't sleep knowing you're on the floor." "Lila, please." She heard him move. A rustle of blankets. Then the mattress dipped as he climbed in on the far side. He stayed at the very edge, as far from her as possible. "Better?" she asked. "Yeah." They lay in the dark, a canyon of space between them. Lila could feel the warmth of him anyway, could sense exactly where he was even though they weren't touching. "Owen?" "Hmm? I'm sorry. About the parking lot. About all of it. You don't have to apologize." "I do. Because you're right. I have been pulling away. And that's not fair to you." He didn't respond for a long moment. Then, "Why are you scared?" "Of losing you. Of ruining this. Of—" her voice caught. "Of not being what you need." "Lila." His voice was soft, careful. "You've always been what I need. That's the problem." She turned her head, could just barely make out his profile in the dark. He was staring at the ceiling. What do you mean? I mean, I didn't plan this, didn't want to fall in love with my best friend, but you made it impossible not to. He exhaled slowly. Every time you called me at midnight because you couldn't sleep, every time you showed me a photo you were proud of, every time you laughed at something stupid I said, you made it impossible. Her chest felt like it was breaking open. Owen, I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because you asked. Because you deserve to know why I can't do just friends anymore. Because it stopped being just friends a long time ago. And I'm tired of pretending. The room felt too small suddenly, too warm. She could hear her own heartbeat. When? She whispered. When did it stop being just friends? For me, years ago. For you? He turned his head to look at her. Even in the dark, she could feel the weight of his gaze. I think you're still figuring that out. He was right. She was. They lay in silence after that. Eventually, Owen's breathing evened out. He'd fallen asleep. Lila stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the space between them like a physical thing. She didn't cross it, but for the first time, she wanted to. Lila woke to sunlight and an empty bed. She sat up. Owen's side was already made, pillows stacked neatly. The floor sleeping area was cleaned up. His bag was by the door. The bathroom door was open, light off. He was gone. Her phone showed 7:23 a.m. A text from 20 minutes ago. Went for a walk. See you at breakfast. She got up, walked to the window. The beach stretched below, gray sand meeting gray water. Overcast morning. A few early runners dotted the shore. She found Owen halfway down the beach. Even from the hotel room, she recognized his stride. Hands in pockets, shoulders slightly hunched. He stopped near the water, just watching the waves. She should get ready. Shower. Pack. Breakfast was at 8:30. The wedding was at noon. She had work to do. Instead, she stood at the window and watched him. Last night's conversation echoed in her head. It stopped being just friends a long time ago. When had it stopped for her? She'd been asking herself that since wedding 3. Maybe even before. She thought about their history. Meeting in college at that terrible poetry reading. Him offering to walk her home because it was late. Coffee the next week. Then the next. 5 years of accumulated moments. Inside jokes. Shared silences. Him showing up when her camera broke with a loaner from his office. Her helping him pick paint colors for his apartment at 2 a.m. because he couldn't decide. When had the ground shifted? Or had it always been this way and she just hadn't looked? Owen turned and started walking back toward the hotel. She stepped away from the window. By the time he knocked, she was dressed and packing her camera bag. "Hey," he said when she opened the door. "Morning." "Morning." His hair was windblown. He looked tired but calmer than last night. "You okay?" "Yeah, you?" "Yeah." He grabbed his bag. "Breakfast?" "Sure." They walked to the hotel restaurant in silence. Not the heavy silence from before. Something different. Quieter. Like they were both too tired to keep fighting whatever this was. Over coffee and eggs, Owen's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. "What?" Lila asked. "My brother. He's asking if we're together yet." "What did you tell him?" "That he should mind his business." Owen set down his phone. "He's convinced we're idiots." "Are we?" "Probably." She almost smiled. Almost. "What else did he say?" Owen hesitated, then showed her the screen. The text read, "Just tell her, you coward. 8 more weddings of this is going to kill you both." Lila handed back the phone. "He's not wrong." "About which part?" "All of it." Owen looked at her. Really looked. "Lila, let's just get through today," she said. "Wedding 5. Then we can talk. Really talk." "Okay. Okay." But they both knew they'd been saying that for weeks now, and talking never seemed to solve anything. Because the problem wasn't words, it was the space between them, the fear. The fact that they were both standing at the edge of something and neither knew if the fall would break them or save them. Wedding 5 was in 4 hours. 3 more after that before anything would change. Or maybe it already had. Maybe it had changed weeks ago, and they were just now catching up to it. She'd had too much champagne. Lila knew this, had known it 2 glasses ago. But wedding 6 was at her sister's friend's reception, which meant her sister was there, which meant she'd been getting looks all night, which meant she'd been drinking to avoid the inevitable conversation. "You're being obvious," her sister said, appearing next to her at the bar. "About what?" "Him." Her sister nodded toward Owen, who was talking to someone's uncle near the dance floor. "You've been staring at him for 20 minutes. "I'm not staring." "You're absolutely staring." Her sister ordered them both water. "Also, you're drunk." "I'm not." "Lila, I've known you for 28 years. You're drunk." She handed her the water. "And you need to talk to him." "We talk. Not about the thing that matters." "What thing?" Her sister gave her a look. "The thing where you're clearly in love with him, and he's clearly in love with you, and you're both dancing around it like idiots." The words hit like cold water. "I'm not." "Yes, you are." Her sister's voice was gentle. "And it's okay, but you need to tell him." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because what if I'm wrong? What if I ruin everything?" "Lila, look at him." She did. Owen was laughing at something the uncle said. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled up. He looked relaxed, happy. But then he glanced across the room, directly at her, and the expression shifted, softened, something vulnerable and aching in his eyes. "That man is in love with you," her sister said quietly, "and unless I'm completely blind, you feel the same way. So stop being scared and do something about it." The DJ called for the bouquet toss. Her sister pulled her toward the crowd of women. "I'm not," Lila protested. "You're participating this time. No running away." The bride turned, threw the bouquet. It arced high, and someone else caught it. Thank God. But Lila had been standing there, arms half raised, and when she looked across the room again, Owen was watching. Something in his expression broke her. She handed her water to her sister, walked straight to him. "Lila, I need to tell you something." He blinked. "Okay. I'm a little drunk. I know. And I'm probably going to regret this tomorrow." "Lila, I think I'm in love with you." The words came out too fast, too loud. She didn't care. "I don't know when it started. Maybe wedding 1, maybe years ago, maybe." She laughed, high and slightly panicked. "Maybe I've always been in love with you, and I was just too scared to look at it." Owen went very still. "You're drunk." "I am, but I mean it." "Lila, we can't." "Why not?" "Because you're not sober. Because we're at a wedding. Because—" He ran a hand through his hair. "Because I've waited too long for you to tell me this for it to happen like this." "Like what?" "When you might not remember it tomorrow." The rejection stung, even though it wasn't really rejection. She stepped back. "Right, okay." "Lila." "No, you're right, I'm drunk. This was stupid." She turned to leave. Owen caught her wrist, gently. "Wait." She stopped. "Ask me tomorrow," he said quietly, "when you're sober, when you've had time to think about it. And if you still mean it," his thumb brushed over her pulse point, "if you still mean it, then we'll talk. Really talk. And if I do, still mean it, then we'll figure it out." His hand dropped from her wrist. "Together." Her sister appeared with her purse and jacket. "I'm taking her home." Owen nodded. "Good idea." "Owen," Lila started. "Tomorrow," he said. "Ask me tomorrow." Her sister pulled her away. Lila looked back once. Owen stood in the middle of the reception, hands in his pockets, watching her leave. She just told him she loved him, and he'd told her to ask again, tomorrow. Tomorrow suddenly felt very far away. She didn't ask him the next day, or the day after that. Wedding 7 was a blur of careful distance and things unsaid. They danced once. His hand on her waist felt different now, heavier, charged. She'd apologized for being drunk. He'd said there was nothing to apologize for. They hadn't talked about what she'd said. In the car after, "Did you mean it?" he'd asked quietly. "I don't know," she'd lied. He'd driven her home in silence. Wedding 8 happened 2 weeks later. Garden venue, sunset ceremony. She photographed everything from behind the safety of her lens. Owen talked to other guests. They orbited each other carefully, like planets on collision course. "We can't keep doing this," he said during dinner. "Doing what?" "Pretending that night didn't happen. You told me to ask you when I was sober. So ask." She couldn't. The words stuck in her throat like glass. "I need more time." Something in his expression closed off. "Okay." "Owen." "It's fine, Lila. Take all the time you need." But it wasn't fine. She could see it in the set of his shoulders. The way he didn't reach for her when they danced. The way he said goodnight in parking lots without lingering. She was losing him. Could feel it happening in real time. And she didn't know how to stop it without jumping off the cliff she was so terrified of. Flashback, Wedding 7's real moment. Her ex showed up, not as a guest, as the photographer's assistant. He'd gotten a job with the company she usually contracted with. "Lila," he said her name like he had any right to. "Been a while." 3 years. "Yeah." He glanced at Owen, who was getting them drinks. "That's your boyfriend?" "My friend." "Right, friend," he smiled. "You always did keep people at arm's length." The comment hit like a slap. Before she could respond, Owen appeared. "Everything okay?" He handed her a drink, positioned himself slightly between her and her ex. "Fine," she said. Her ex extended his hand. "Mark, I'll be assisting today." Owen shook it, but his expression was cold. "Owen, I'll be keeping Lila company." The rest of the night, Owen stayed close, not hovering, just present. When Mark tried to talk to her, Owen redirected. When she got overwhelmed, Owen created exits. He was protecting her without her asking. In the car after, "Thank you." "For what?" "For running interference with Mark." Owen's hands tightened on the wheel. "He's the one, isn't he? From 3 years ago?" "Yeah. He's an asshole." She almost smiled. "Yeah. You deserve better." "Do I?" He looked at her then, really looked. "You deserve everything, Lila. Don't let him make you think otherwise." Something in her chest cracked open. She'd forgotten. Owen had been there that night 3 years ago, had held her while she cried, had told her she'd be okay until she believed it. He'd been there for everything, every moment, every fall, every rise. "Owen, let's get you home." She'd almost told him then, almost said the words, but fear choked them back down. Present, Wedding 8, ending. The reception ended at midnight. Owen drove her home, pulled up to her building. 4 weddings left, he said. "I know." "Lila, I'm scared, Owen. I'm so scared." He turned to face her. The streetlight overhead cast half his face in shadow. "Of what?" "Of losing you." "You won't. You don't know that." "I do. Because I've been your friend for 5 years and I'm not going anywhere. Whether you love me back or not," his voice cracked, "I'm not going anywhere." "Owen, but I need you to decide, because I can't keep being in love with you while you figure out if you're in love with me. It's killing me." She reached for his hand. He let her take it. "I'm sorry." "I know." He squeezed her hand once, then let go. 4 weddings left. Figure it out, Lila, please." He drove away. She stood in her parking lot and watched his taillights disappear and realized she'd already decided. She'd decided weeks ago. She just had to be brave enough to say it. The garden estate was beautiful. Lila stood with her camera, capturing the reception. String lights overhead. Long tables covered in white cloth. The bride and groom looked happy, really happy. The kind of happy that made you believe in love. Owen was at a table near the front. His brother sat next to him. He was the best man. They were talking, heads bent close. Arguing, maybe. She couldn't tell from this distance. The best man stood to give his toast. Owen's brother. She zoomed in with her camera. Love is patient, he began. Classic, safe. But then, love is also terrifying. The crowd laughed softly. When my brother asked me what marriage advice I had, he glanced at Owen. I told him that the secret isn't finding someone perfect. It's finding someone you can't imagine not choosing. Every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Lila lowered her camera slightly. And if you're lucky, Owen's brother continued, if you're really lucky, you find someone who's been choosing you all along. You just had to be brave enough to see it. He raised his glass. Everyone drank. But Lila was stuck on those words. Someone who's been choosing you all along. She looked at Owen. He was already looking at her. The band started playing. Couples moved to the dance floor. She should be working, capturing candid moments. The first dance, the laughter. Instead, she set down her camera. She walked to Owen's table. He stood when she approached. Hi, she said. Hi. Your brother's toast was good. Yeah. He was talking about us, wasn't he? Owen's expression did something complicated. Probably. Owen, do you want to dance? The question caught her off guard. I'm working. Take a break. I can't. Please. Something in his voice made her nod. He led her to the edge of the dance floor, away from the crowd. The song was slow, familiar. She couldn't place it. His hand found her waist. She rested hers on his shoulder. They moved slowly. I meant it, she said after a moment. Meant what? At wedding 6, when I said I think I'm in love with you. Owen's hand tightened slightly. You were drunk. I was, but I meant it. He didn't say anything, just kept dancing. Owen, why now? His voice was rough. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm tired of being scared. Because your brother's toast made me realize something. What? That you've been choosing me for years, and I've been too terrified to choose you back. He stopped moving. They stood in the middle of the dance floor, other couples swaying around them. The music kept playing. Lila, I love you. The words came out steady, clear. I don't know when it started, maybe 5 years ago, maybe wedding 1, maybe, she laughed softly, maybe it doesn't matter when. What matters is now, and right now, I love you. Owen looked at her like she just handed him something fragile. You're sure? I'm sure. Because if you're not, if you're going to change your mind tomorrow, I won't. You don't know that. I do. Because I've been falling in love with you for weeks, maybe longer, and I'm done pretending I'm not. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you, Owen. He kissed her, right there, in the middle of the dance floor, in front of 200 wedding guests. His mouth on hers, soft and sure and perfect. She made a sound, surprise or relief, she didn't know. Her hands fisted in his shirt. When they broke apart, she was breathless. I've been waiting 5 years to do that, he said quietly. 5 years? I'll tell you later. Right now. He kissed her again, deeper this time. Someone whistled. Laughter rippled through the crowd. They broke apart, both smiling. We're making a scene, Lila said. I don't care. I should be working. I don't care about that either. He pulled her close again, resting his forehead against hers. I love you. I've loved you for so long I forgot what it felt like not to. Owen. 5 years, Lila. I've been in love with you for 5 years. The number hit her. 5 years. Since that night, when your ex broke your heart and you called me at 2 a.m., I came over and you cried until sunrise. And when you fell asleep on my shoulder, I realized, his voice cracked, I realized I'd do anything to make sure no one ever hurt you again. Her eyes stung. You never said anything. You weren't ready, and I'd rather have you as a friend than lose you completely. You wouldn't have lost me. I didn't know that. He kissed her forehead. But I'm done waiting. I'm done pretending. I'm done with all of it. The song ended. Another started. They kept dancing. 3 weddings left, she said. 3 weddings until this season is over. Then what? Then we start our own story. She looked up at him. No more pretending. No more pretending, he agreed. And they danced until the reception ended and the lights came up and everyone went home. But they stayed. Just a little longer. Just the 2 of them and the string lights and the feeling that they'd finally figured it out. Lila sat in her studio 2 days after wedding 9. Photos from the past 9 weddings spread across her desk. Hundreds of images. She'd been sorting them, editing the best ones to send to couples. But she kept stopping on the ones that weren't meant for clients. Photos of Owen. She hadn't realized how many she'd taken until now. Owen laughing with someone's grandmother at wedding 3. Owen's profile backlit by sunset at wedding 4. His hands as he fixed his tie at wedding 7. Him watching her across the dance floor at wedding 8. 9 weddings, dozens of photos, a documentation of falling in love. She opened a new folder, named it Us, started moving photos into it. The studio door opened. Owen. He had a key. She'd given him one last year when he'd helped her install new lighting. Hey, he said, didn't know you'd be here. Editing, she gestured at the mess of photos. You? I was in the neighborhood. He walked over, looked at her screen, stopped when he saw what she was working on. Are those? Photos of you? Yeah. He was quiet for a moment, then, how many? A lot. Can I see? She pulled up the folder, scrolled through slowly. Owen leaned over her shoulder, close enough that she could smell his cologne, feel the warmth of him. You've been taking photos of me, he said quietly, for weeks, maybe longer. Why? She didn't know how to explain it, that every time she looked through her viewfinder and found him, something in her chest settled. That photographing him felt like capturing proof of something she was afraid to name. Because, she said finally, because I was falling in love with you and didn't know how to process it, so I did what I always do. I documented it. Owen pulled up a chair, sat beside her. Show me more. She did. Scrolled through the entire collection. Some were candid, him talking, laughing, thinking. Others were more intentional. His hands, the curve of his jaw, the way light caught his eyes. This one, Owen said, stopping her on a photo from wedding 5. The morning after they'd shared a bed. He was on the beach, hands in pockets, looking at the water. You took this from the hotel room? Yeah. I didn't know you were watching. I was. You looked. She paused. Sad. I was. That morning I realized. He took her hand. I realized you might never feel the same way, and I had to figure out if I could live with that. Could you? I didn't want to find out. He kissed her knuckles. Thank God I didn't have to. She leaned into him. They sat like that for a while, scrolling through photos. A visual history of their wedding season, of them figuring it out. What about this one? Owen stopped on a photo from wedding 9. The moment right before they kissed. She'd set her camera on the table, timer on, captured them mid-dance, his hand on her face, both of them looking at each other like they just discovered something impossible. I set a timer, she said, right before you kissed me. You photographed our first kiss? I photograph everything that matters. He turned to look at her. I matter? You've always mattered. She touched his face, mirroring the photo. I was just too scared to admit it. And now? Now I'm done being scared. She kissed him, soft and slow and sure. When she pulled back, she was smiling. I love you. I love you too. They stayed in the studio until evening, editing photos, planning which ones to print, talking about the 3 weddings left, about what came after. After wedding 12, Owen said, let's take a break from weddings for a while. She laughed. Agreed. Unless what? He pulled her close. Unless it's ours. Her heart did something complicated. Owen Hayes, are you proposing? Not yet, but someday. He kissed her forehead. When you're ready, no pressure. Someday, she agreed, but let's get through wedding 12 first. Deal. They left the studio hand in hand. Behind them, photos of 9 weddings and a love story documented one frame at a time. 3 weddings left, then the rest of their lives. They barely spoke at wedding 10, not out of anger, out of something else, something that made words feel inadequate. Lila stood by the reception hall window, watching rain streak down glass. The ceremony had been moved indoors, beautiful still, candlelight and vows and promises. Owen appeared beside her with 2 glasses of wine. Thanks, she said, taking one. They stood in silence. Outside, lightning flashed distant. Thunder rolled soft. The storm was miles away, but coming closer. Dance with me, Owen said quietly. She looked at the dance floor. It was crowded. The bride and groom swayed in the center, surrounded by family and friends. Safe. Public. Okay. His hand found hers, led her to a corner of the floor where the light was dimmer. The song was something slow and aching. She didn't recognize it. When he pulled her close this time, there was no careful distance. Her chest pressed against his hands splayed wide on her lower back. She could feel his heartbeat. This is different, she said. What is? Dancing with you, now that we... She couldn't finish. Now that we've stopped pretending? Yeah. His hand tightened. Is it better or worse? I don't know yet. They moved slowly. Around them, other couples danced, lost in their own worlds. But Lila was hyper-aware of every point of contact. His thumb against her spine, the warmth of his palm, the way he held her like she was something precious. I keep thinking about what your brother said, she murmured, at wedding 9. Which part? About finding someone you can't imagine not choosing. Owen's cheek rested against her temple. And? I can't imagine not choosing you. I don't think I ever could. He went still. Then, Lila, I know it's fast. I know we just figured this out, but... She pulled back to look at him. I need you to know, this isn't just wedding season romance. This isn't just slow dances and champagne and bouquet tosses making me feel things. Then what is it? It's you. It's always been you. Something in his expression broke open. He cupped her face with both hands, kissed her right there in the middle of the dance floor, soft and deep and devastating. When they broke apart, she was breathless. 2 more, he said quietly. 2 more weddings and this season is over. Then what? Then we figure out what we are without weddings forcing us together. The thought should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like relief. The song ended. Another began. They kept dancing. Outside, the storm moved closer. Rain hammered harder against the windows. Lightning lit the room in flashes. But inside, everything felt warm and safe and right. Owen? Yeah? I'm not scared anymore. He pulled her closer. Good, because I'm terrified enough for both of us. She almost laughed. Of what? Of waking up and realizing this was just wedding magic, that you'll change your mind when we're back in the real world. I won't. You don't know that. I do. She took his hand, placed it over her heart. Feel that? His palm pressed against her chest, her heartbeat strong and steady beneath. That's real, she said. Not magic, not champagne, not slow dances. Just you and me. Real. Owen's eyes were bright. Lila, I love you. At weddings and everywhere else. I love you. He kissed her again, longer this time, like he was memorizing the taste of her, the shape of her mouth, the way she made small sounds when he deepened the kiss. Someone cleared their throat nearby. They broke apart, both smiling. "Get a room," the bride's sister said, laughing as she passed. Owen rested his forehead against Lila's. 2 more weddings. 2 more. Then forever. Then forever, she agreed. But forever started with wedding 11. And wedding 11 was when everything fell apart. Lila's studio was cold. She'd forgotten to adjust the heat before leaving for the wedding. Now it was past midnight, and the space felt like a freezer. Owen stood by her drafting table, the one he'd built for her 2 years ago, hands in his pockets. "I can't do wedding 12, he said. She stopped unpacking her camera gear. "What?" "I can't. I'm sorry." "Owen, we have 2 left." "I know, I'll do 11, but I can't do 12. Something cold settled in her chest that had nothing to do with the temperature. "Why not?" He turned to face her. His expression was careful, guarded. "Because 12 weddings was supposed to get us through the season, and we're almost there, but he ran a hand through his hair. "I can't watch you catch another bouquet. Can't do another slow dance and pretend it's just for show. Can't. We're not pretending anymore." "I know, that's the problem." She set down her camera, walked closer. "I don't understand. Wedding 12 is your college roommate's wedding, right?" "Yeah, so?" "So it's the biggest one, most important. All your friends will be there, and they're going to see us together and ask questions and—" He exhaled sharply. "And I can't be your +1 anymore, Lila. I can't be the guy who's just there as a friend." "You're not. Then what am I?" The question hung between them. She didn't have an answer ready. They'd been together for 2 weeks, officially. But what did that mean? Boyfriend felt too small. Partner felt too soon. "You're," she started. "See, you don't know either." "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" His voice was rough. "We've been dancing around this for 12 weeks, 9 weddings. And yeah, we finally figured out we love each other. But what does that actually mean? What are we doing here? We're together. Are we? Or are we just riding the high of wedding season? All that romance in the air, making us feel things that might not survive real life." The words hit like ice water. "You don't mean that." "Don't I? Lila, we haven't even been on a real date. Just the 2 of us. No wedding, no reception hall, no slow songs and champagne, just—" He gestured helplessly. "Just us. Normal life. How do we know this is real?" "Because I feel it, don't you?" "Of course I do, but feelings aren't enough." "Then what is?" He was quiet for a long moment, then, "Time. Normal time. Not wedding time. I need to know if you'll still choose me when we're not caught up in all this." He waved vaguely. "This magic." "It's not magic, Owen, it's us." "Then prove it. After wedding 11, let's take a break. You go to wedding 12 alone. See how it feels without me there. And if you still—" His voice cracked. "If you still want this, want me, then we'll figure it out." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" "Yes. You're asking me to prove I love you by going to a wedding without you? That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense. You've had me as your safety net for 12 weeks. Your +1. Your armor against uncomfortable questions. How do I know you love me and not just the convenience?" The accusation stung. "That's what you think? That you're convenient?" "I don't know what I am to you, Lila. That's the problem." She wanted to yell, to throw something, to make him see how wrong he was. But her throat felt tight, and the words wouldn't come. "I'm in love with you," she said finally. "That should be enough." "It's not. Not for me. Not anymore." He moved toward the door. "I'll see you at wedding 11, but after that—" He stopped. "After that, I need space. We both do." "Owen." I'm sorry, but I can't keep doing this, not without knowing it's real. He left. The door clicked shut behind him. Lila stood alone in her frozen studio. Outside, the city hummed. Cars passed. Someone's dog barked. Life continued like her world hadn't just fractured. She looked at her camera on the table, at the photos still loaded on the memory card. Wedding 10. Her and Owen dancing, looking at each other like they'd discovered something impossible. Was it real? Or was it just wedding magic? She'd thought she knew the answer. Now she wasn't sure. Her phone buzzed. Text from Owen. I'm sorry. I love you. But I need to know this is real. Please understand. She typed, I don't understand. But okay. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. No response came. She turned up the heat and sat at her drafting table. Opened her laptop. Stared at photos from 9 weddings. Evidence of falling in love. But Owen was right about one thing. They'd never been on a real date. Never spent a day together without wedding obligations. Never just existed as themselves without romance in the air. Wedding 11 was in 1 week, then 12, and after that, she didn't know. For the first time in weeks, she had no idea what came next. Lila didn't hear from Owen for 2 weeks. Not a call, not a text, nothing. Wedding 11 loomed. She'd told him she'd see him there. But as the days passed, doubt crept in. What if he didn't show? What if asking for space meant he'd changed his mind about everything? She threw herself into work, edited photos from Wedding 10, booked 3 new clients, reorganized her studio twice, anything to avoid thinking about the silence. Her sister called on day 10. Have you talked to him? No. Lila, he asked for space. I'm giving him space. That's not space, that's avoidance. What do you want me to do? Beg him to come back? I want you to fight for him, the way he's been fighting for you for 5 years. The words hit hard. Lila sat on her studio floor, phone pressed to her ear. What if he's right? What if this was just wedding magic? Do you believe that? I don't know anymore. Her sister sighed. Lila, listen to me. That man has been in love with you since before you even noticed. He's shown up to every wedding, danced every dance, waited while you figured out your feelings, and now he's asking if it's real. Not because he doubts you, because he's terrified. Of what? Of this being temporary, of losing you when the magic wears off. Her sister's voice softened. He's not asking you to prove anything. He's asking you to choose him when it's not easy. When there's no bouquet toss or slow song making you feel things. Just him, just you, just real life. Lila closed her eyes. I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do. You've been doing it for years. You just didn't realize it. After the call, Lila sat in the dark. The studio was quiet except for the hum of her computer. She opened the folder labeled Us, scrolled through photos of Owen. But these weren't just wedding photos. She scrolled back further, found photos from years ago. Owen helping her move into the studio. Owen at her gallery showing, standing in the back, proud. Owen bringing her coffee at 6 a.m. when she'd pulled an all-nighter editing. She'd been documenting him long before wedding season started. Years of accumulated moments. Proof that what they had existed outside of champagne and slow dances. She grabbed her camera, walked to Owen's apartment building. She'd been there dozens of times, had a key somewhere in her bag that she'd never given back. His lights were on, 8th floor. She could see the glow through his window. She raised her camera, zoomed in. Owen was at his drafting table, sketching something. He looked tired, sad. She lowered the camera, almost walked away, but Wedding 11 was tomorrow, and she needed him to know. She pulled out her phone, sent a text. I'll see you tomorrow. 3 dots appeared immediately. Owen. Okay. Lila. And after tomorrow, we're going on a real date. Just us. No wedding, no romance in the air, just normal life. Lila. I love you. Not because of weddings, not because of slow dances, Because you're you, and I choose you, wedding season or not. The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. Finally, tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow. Lila. Tomorrow. She walked back to her studio. Tomorrow was wedding 11, the second to last wedding. And after that, they'd figure out if love survived real life, or if Owen was right and wedding magic was all they'd ever had. She caught the bouquet. Lila hadn't meant to. She'd been standing at the back of the crowd, camera around her neck, not participating. But the bride had terrible aim. The bouquet sailed over everyone's heads, tumbled end over end, and landed directly in Lila's hands. The crowd erupted in cheers. She stared at the flowers. White roses and eucalyptus. They smelled like promises. Across the room, Owen stood near the bar. Their eyes met. Something in his expression, she couldn't read it. Joy? Fear? Both? The DJ called for the garter toss. Men moved to the center of the floor. Owen didn't move. The groom threw the garter. Someone's cousin caught it. The DJ started making announcements about tradition. Whoever caught the bouquet and garter would dance together. All right, let's see our lucky couple, the DJ called. Lila's stomach dropped. She looked at the cousin holding the garter. Young, maybe 22, already drunk. Come on up, the DJ urged. She couldn't do this, not with some stranger, while Owen watched. She turned to hand the bouquet to someone. Wait, Owen's voice. She turned. He was walking toward her. No, not walking, striding, purpose in every step. He reached the cousin, said something low. The cousin's eyes widened. He handed over the garter without protest. Owen turned to face her, held up the garter. May I? He asked quietly. The room went silent. 200 people watching, waiting. Lila nodded. Owen took her hand, led her to the center of the dance floor. The DJ, sensing drama, started a slow song. The same song from Wedding 1, about second chances, about waiting. You caught the bouquet, Owen said. I didn't mean to, but you did. Owen, I'm sorry. His hand found her waist. About everything, about asking for space, about making you prove something that was never in question. What are you talking about? I was scared, terrified, because I've loved you for so long that I couldn't imagine you loving me back. And when you did, his voice cracked. When you did, I panicked, convinced myself it couldn't be real, that you'd wake up and realize you'd made a mistake. Her chest ached. Owen, but I was wrong, because you didn't make a mistake. And this isn't wedding magic, it's just, he pulled her closer. It's just us, the way it's always been. I was just too scared to believe it. Tears pricked her eyes. You were serious about not coming to wedding 12. I was, because I'm an idiot. Yeah, you are. He smiled, sad and soft. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But I love you anyway. I know, I love you too. The song swelled. Around them, people were crying. Someone's aunt yelled, "Kiss her!" Others joined in, cheering, clapping. Owen cupped her face. Can I? Yes. He kissed her, deep and sure and real. She dropped the bouquet. It tumbled to the floor as she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him back. Everything else fell away. The crowd, the music, the wedding, just them. Finally, completely. When they broke apart, the room was applauding. The DJ was laughing. Someone shouted, "About time!" Owen rested his forehead against hers. Come to wedding 12 with me. I thought you couldn't. I can't go without you. Turns out I can't do anything without you. He kissed her again, soft. Please, let me be your +1. One more time. And after? After, we go on that date, normal life, normal us, and we figure out what forever looks like when there's no wedding forcing us together. What if we're terrible at normal life? Then we'll be terrible together. She laughed through tears. That's the worst romantic line ever. I know. I'm out of practice. Give me time. How much time? Forever. He picked up the bouquet, handed it to her. If you'll have me. She took the flowers. Is that a proposal? Not yet, but someday, when you're ready. He kissed her forehead. No pressure. Someday, she agreed. But first, wedding 12. Together. Together. The DJ started another song. They danced through the rest of the reception. Her bouquet sat on their table, his garter in his pocket, evidence of a tradition that had finally led them exactly where they needed to be. One more wedding, then the rest of their lives. The night before wedding 12, Owen called. Can you come over? He asked. There's something I need to show you. Lila drove to his apartment, let herself in with the key she'd never returned. Owen was at his drafting table, sketching something. Hey, she said. He looked up. Hey, thanks for coming. What's going on? He stood, walked to a cabinet she'd never seen opened, pulled out a box, cardboard, old, the edges worn soft. I need to show you something, he said. Before tomorrow, before we close out this wedding season, you deserve to know the truth. About what? He opened the box. Inside, photos, dozens of them, all of her. Lila's breath caught. Owen, 5 years, he said quietly. I told you I've been in love with you for 5 years. That night you called me after your breakup. But that's not... He pulled out a photo. Her at their college graduation, laughing, sun in her hair. That's not when it started. When did it start? He showed her another photo. Freshman year. She recognized the quad behind her. That poetry reading, the terrible one, where we met. I remember. I took this after. You didn't know. You were talking to someone about photography, and your whole face just... He touched the photo gently. You lit up. And I thought I'd never seen anyone more beautiful. Her throat felt tight. Owen, I didn't fall in love with you that night, but something started. And then there was coffee, and late-night library sessions, and you showing me your photos, and me showing you my terrible building sketches. He pulled out more photos, years of them, accumulated moments. And somewhere in all of that, I fell, completely, irreversibly. Why didn't you say anything? Because you weren't ready. Because you had your ex. Because, he set down the photos, because I'd rather have you in my life as a friend than lose you by wanting more. But the breakup changed things. That night when you called crying and I came over and you fell asleep on my shoulder, his voice cracked. I realized I couldn't keep pretending, that I was in love with you, really, truly, and it terrified me. Lila picked up a photo, her at her first gallery show, Owen in the background, watching. You've been documenting me too. For years, the way you document everything that matters. He showed her another photo, the two of them at a coffee shop. A stranger must have taken it. They were laughing, sitting too close, looking at each other like, we've been doing this dance for a long time, Lila. I was just too scared to lead. And now? Now I'm done being scared. He cupped her face. Tomorrow is wedding 12, the last one. And after that, I want to start documenting our life. Together. Not as friends, not as plus ones. As us. Us, she repeated. If you'll have me. She kissed him. Soft and slow and certain. When she pulled back, she was smiling. Show me more. They spent the night going through his box. 5 years of photos. Of her working, laughing, thinking. Of them together, friends who'd been circling each other for years without realizing they were already home. I have photos of you too, she said finally. From before wedding season. Years of them. You do? I didn't realize what they meant, not until this season. But yeah, I've been documenting you too. Owen pulled her close. We're idiots. Complete idiots. But we figured it out. Eventually, they fell asleep on his couch, photos scattered around them. Evidence of a love story that started long before 12 weddings gave them permission to see it. Tomorrow was the last wedding. Then their forever started. The wedding 12 was perfect. Lila stood in the back of the church, camera in hand. Her college roommate looked beautiful. The groom was crying. The ceremony was everything a wedding should be. But halfway through the vows, Lila lowered her camera. Owen sat 3 rows ahead, navy suit, the same one he'd worn to every wedding. She could see the back of his head, the way he sat, attentive and still. 12 weddings, 12 chances to figure out what they meant to each other. And tomorrow, it would all be over. The officiant was talking about commitment, about choosing someone every day, about love being more than a feeling. It was a decision, a promise. Lila looked at Owen. He was the only decision she'd ever been sure about, the only promise she wanted to make. She set down her camera. A guest nearby whispered, "Are you okay?" She nodded, walked down the side aisle toward the exit, quiet, careful not to disrupt. Owen's head turned. He saw her leaving. His brow furrowed. She stepped outside into late spring sun. The church steps were empty, quiet. She could hear birds, traffic in the distance, her own heartbeat. The church door opened. Owen. "Lila, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. You left in the middle of the ceremony." "I know." "Why?" She looked at him, really looked. Navy suit, confused expression. The man she'd been falling in love with for years without realizing it. "Because I don't want to be here," she said. "What?" "I don't want to be at someone else's wedding, watching someone else make promises. I want—" She laughed, high and slightly panicked. "I want to make my own promises." Owen went very still. "Lila, not now, not today, but someday, soon." She walked down the steps toward him. "I'm done with wedding season, Owen. Done being a guest. Done watching other people choose each other." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I choose you, not just at weddings, not just during slow dances. Every day, every moment, I choose you." His eyes were bright. "Lila, and I know we said we'd finish the season, all 12 weddings, but I can't." Her voice broke. "I can't sit through one more ceremony pretending I'm just documenting someone else's love story when ours is right here, right now." Owen closed the distance between them, cupped her face. "You're serious. Completely. You're leaving wedding 12. With you, if you'll come." He kissed her, hard and desperate and real. When he pulled back, he was smiling. "Let's go." "Really? Really? Screw wedding 12. He took her hand. "Let's go start our own story." They ran to the parking lot, got in his car, drove away while the ceremony continued inside. Lila's camera was still in the church. She'd go back for it later. Right now, nothing mattered except this. Them. Together. "Where are we going?" she asked. "No idea. We're terrible at this." "At what?" "Running away together. We didn't even plan." Owen laughed. "We've been planning this for 12 weeks. We just didn't know it." He drove them to the park where they'd met in college, that terrible poetry reading where everything started. They sat on the grass, sun warm overhead. No wedding music, no slow dances, no champagne or bouquets or toasts. Just them, finally, completely. "So," Owen said, "what now?" "Now we figure out what forever looks like." "Any ideas?" "A few." She leaned against him. "But first, first you take me on that date, the real one. No weddings, no romance in the air, just us." "Deal." He kissed her forehead. "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow." They stayed in the park until sunset, talking, laughing, planning. And when they finally left, hand in hand, 12 weddings were behind them. and their forever stretched ahead. Lila's studio was warm. She'd finally fixed the heating. Owen had helped, spent a weekend rewiring thermostats and insulating windows. Now the space stayed comfortable year-round. She sat at her drafting table, editing photos from a recent wedding. Not one of theirs, a client's. She'd started taking wedding photography seriously again, but now it felt different. Less like hiding behind a lens, more like celebrating something she understood. The studio door opened. Owen, carrying takeout. "Dinner," he announced. "You're early." Slow day at the office. He set down the bags, kissed her. "How's editing?" "Almost done. This couple is sweet. Reminds me of us." "Yeah?" They kept looking at each other like they'd discovered something impossible. Owen smiled. "Sounds familiar." They ate at her desk, Thai food from the place around the corner, the same place they'd been going to for 6 years. Before wedding season, before everything changed, before they'd figured it out. "I got something today," Owen said, pulling out his phone. "From my brother." He showed her a photo, a wedding invitation. His brother, getting married next spring. "He wants us to be in the wedding party," Owen said. "Both of us. I'm best man. You're a bridesmaid, if you want." Lila looked at the invitation. Another wedding. But this time, no pressure. No 12-wedding marathon. Just one. Together. "I'd like that," she said. "Yeah?" "Yeah." She took his hand. "But this time, you're not my +1. "No? No. You're my boyfriend. My partner. My—" She paused. "My person." Owen's expression softened. "Your person. Is that okay?" "It's perfect." They finished eating, cleaned up. Owen moved to leave. He had early meetings tomorrow, but stopped at the door. "Lila?" "Yeah?" "Do you ever think about it? Wedding season?" "Sometimes. Why?" "I was thinking, those 12 weddings. They weren't really about the weddings, were they?" "What do you mean?" He walked back to her. "I mean, we could have figured this out anywhere, anytime. Coffee shops, your studio, my apartment. But it took 12 weddings of watching other people choose each other before we had the courage to choose each other. Maybe we needed that. The push. Maybe." He touched her face gently. "Or maybe we just needed time. To grow into people who were brave enough to risk everything. Are you glad we did? Risk everything?" "Every day." He kissed her. "You're the best decision I've ever made. Even though we're terrible at normal life?" "We're not that terrible. We forgot to pay the electric bill last month." "Okay, we're a little terrible," he smiled. "But we're terrible together. That's what matters." She pulled him close. "Stay tonight." "I have early meetings." "Stay anyway." He did. They fell asleep on her studio couch. Too small for 2 people, but they made it work. They always made it work. In the morning, Owen left for his meetings. Lila went back to editing, but she stopped on a photo she'd taken last week. The two of them at a friend's dinner party. Someone had snapped it without them knowing. They were laughing, sitting too close, looking at each other like they'd been doing for years. Before they realized. Before 12 weddings gave them permission. She saved the photo, added it to the folder labeled Us. It had hundreds of photos now, years of accumulated moments, wedding season and beyond. Her phone buzzed. Text from Owen. "Dinner tonight? No weddings, just us." She smiled. "Just us." Owen, "I love you." Lila, "I love you too." She set down her phone, looked around her studio. At the drafting table Owen built, the photos on the walls, the space they'd created together without realizing it. 12 weddings had brought them here, but what kept them here was simpler. Choice. Every day, every moment. She chose him. He chose her. And that was better than any bouquet toss, any slow dance, any wedding magic could ever be. Just them, real, forever.